What's up, everybody? Welcome to Track 34, Super Bowl LVIII, otherwise known as Super Bowl 58. If you can't read Roman numerals, but we got the 49ers and the Chiefs in the 2024 Super Bowl. So last week we covered the championship round recap. We kind of took into to account some of the headlines covering the upcoming Super Bowl. And so we're going to dive deep into the Super Bowl this week. We had the media day coverage and the Pro Bowl this past weekend, which we're going to get into the Pro Bowl in major depth, obviously, because it's just such an amazing event to show off your skills. And then we'll have a fun track ranking for you guys, but this should be a pretty good Super Bowl. There's two major scripts here that I think are exciting to talk about. I talked about them briefly in the previous pod. But yeah, we're going to get into that. But I'm your host, The Rook, and I'm joined by the medical guy. And we're here to bring it to you and shatter the script. So if this is the first time listening to this podcast, just remember you can like and subscribe to this podcast through our link tree on Instagram. You can find us at trak.pod, or you can, whatever application you're using, Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Music, you can click the download button, and you can follow us or subscribe to us on YouTube. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us throughout this entire 2023 season. We'll have this episode and the episode after the Super Bowl to recap what happened. And then we're going to be moving into season 2 of the TRAK podcast with a lot of cool new features. So we're excited for that. But yeah, let's get right into our Shatter the Script segment. And it's the Pro Bowl. So yeah. So we get. I doubt either of us even watched the Pro Bowl. And that's kind of why we're talking about it, is because they kind of put these accolades on a lot of these players these days where it's like, oh, he's a 7-time Pro Bowler. And I get it. Back in the day, the Pro Bowl used to be something different. We remember those days with Sean Taylor, coming in there and rocking a punter on a fake punt. It was, the people like that. He was a menace in the middle of the field. Brian Dawkins, players like that. Just kind of a different way of thinking of how to play the Pro Bowl. And then Kevin Durant joined the NBA, and we've gone soft. No, but no. So nowadays they do a different approach. They kind of reamp the skill challenges. They've got the precision passing drills. They've got Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Dan Orlovsky out there throwing footballs all the way around. So it's a lot different. It's more PR stunts than it is, skills. And we were just kind of saying they use ththese accolades on these players these days, and I don't think it means anywhere near as much as what it used to, because it honestly reminds me of Little League back in the day, where it's like, oh, you're the coach's son, or you're the popular one. Yeah, you're on the all-star team, sure, but there's 7 other better players that were left behind because nobody knew their name or whatever. So it's just like a popularity thing. But what are your thoughts on the Pro Bowl in general? Players being accoladed that since, I guess I would say, since the rules kind of changed for it when they moved into flag football for the actual game. What are your thoughts on? Let's shatter the script on the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. So, I think you hit the nail on the head right there with the popularity contest thing, and it kind of diminishes the actual award, right? I think you've really summed it up pretty good about that part, because, last year or 2 years ago when Lamar Jackson got hurt, like Tyler Huntley made it. And not taking anything away from him, but he had brutal stats. And then Daniel Jones made it, and he threw for 16 touchdowns on the year. And it's that's not an award anymore. That's nobody else wants to go to it. So with Dak Prescott not being in the Pro Bowl, someone fills in and is technically a Pro Bowler. And it's
yes,
that really just diminishes the award and the stat. However, when it comes towards contract time, it's Pro Bowler. And so I just wonder how much they take into consideration when they get into that point. The other point I have about it, and I'm kind of torn between two ways, is I think how they do it now is just super just fairy-like. I think it's just very weird that what they've made it into. But at the same time, where it was going when they still played football was also not fun to watch at all. Like they had them playing a football game. However, it was like you only get you have to. It's like you count to 5 Mississippi, and then you can rush the passer. It's like, well, I know it's like
Yeah.
I'm kind of talking out both sides of my mouth right now about it, but like both ways kind of suck. Like they were just not necessarily
Yeah.
fun to watch either way. Like I don't want to watch grown men play dodgeball, but I
Right.
also don't want to watch not football. Like I don't want to watch a bunch of people run around in pads and not hit anybody. And so
Exactly.
I think it would be cool if they went back to how they used to do it and like make the competitions like more cooler. Like they used to be like furthest throw. I like the accuracy thing.
Yeah.
Doing like honestly, I think it'd be cool to do like a combine type thing for the Pro Bowl, like make it actually interesting. Like see, like with Larry Allen, see who can bench 225 the most,
Right.
like stuff like that. But like doing dodgeball, like nobody wants to watch CeeDee Lamb and Tyreek Hill play dodgeball, man. Like,
Yeah.
I work at a junior college. I watch stuff similar to that every day, and they call it a sport. Like, so
Right.
I don't want to watch these people do it. So that's kind of my take on it. Is like, why even have it? Like, why have these weird little games and stuff like that? So
Yeah.
it's just like pick a way to go and like at least make it. I don't know. I guess more aggressive, I guess, or more. I don't want to use the word manly, but more manly. Like do like manly things. Like don't play dodgeball. Like like that's the biggest thing I take away from it is that is just the goofiest thing that I
Yeah.
can think of to have the 1% of 1% of athletes do is like, oh yeah, let's get them in here and throw
Yeah. Let's play
dodgeballs. Like,
kickball. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Let's play frisbee golf. Yeah. And like the Pro Bowl too, like Dak didn't show up, obviously, and so I think Geno Smith like replaced him. So that's like a good point. You're like, is Geno Smith really a Pro Bowl? No, he didn't have he didn't play well most of the year, so it doesn't really mean anything that they're there. But like implementing the precision passing, that's something that challenges your skills. That's not easy to do, and that was kind of the highlight of the skills challenge. But I think it's funny. Like I've seen multiple teams do these type of like content videos on TikTok and Instagram where it's like CeeDee Lamb dominated dodgeball at the Pro Bowl and like don't doubt his skills or whatever. And then I
Yeah.
saw another post from I think it was Dallas sports fan or Dak sports fan on Twitter. He was like, CeeDee Lamb in the Pro Bowl, 13 catches, 264 yards, and like 2 touchdowns. I said, brother, it's the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, like
Relax, pal.
yeah.
Relax. It's flag
Like
football.
I feel like those players would just be happier if they were like, "Hey, you made the Pro Bowl. You can go have a vacation for a week, and we'll just pay for it. Like
Right.
you
Yeah,
can
like a
walk around
Smith
and
or
do
something.
stuff. Yeah, like you could just not do anything football or NFL related, but we'll pay for your vacation because you
Yeah.
played so well this year." Rather than like, "Hey, we need y'all to like actually show up halfway functional after being out and wherever, and then play dodgeball." It's like
Yeah.
those guys are probably like halfway hungover, maybe still drunk. Like, all right, guys, let's not throw
Yeah.
up on the turf. Like,
Exactly. And the last point I'll make is, the Pro Bowl used to kind of be this like well not used to, but like in baseball, like it means something to play the All-Star game because it has an effect on who gets home field advantage
yeah,
in the World Series. So there's an effort behind it. There's a game plan. We're going out here playing with the best athletes in the world, the 0.2% of the 0.2%, and to play lights out for a chance to give my team in my division a better chance at winning the World Series. So yeah, like something like that might have been better, but everyone's to Cancun at this point. Like
yeah,
they're done. They're not playing for anything. Or some of them just got eliminated just last week, and they're like, yeah, come over to Miami, Florida, and we'll play dodgeball. And you're like, I kind of
yeah.
want to spend time with my wife and newborn child.
Yeah,
Um,
and like the points you make about like with like the baseball All-Star game, like one, it's halfway to the season, but two,
yeah,
everybody gets in there and tries to throw it as hard as they can and swing as hard as they can. So why wouldn't you do that with football? Like people try to get in there and like throw a football as far as they can, or like run
yeah.
a 40-yard dash, or see who's the strongest. Like just stuff like that would be much more interesting than whatever they got going on right now.
Yeah, I saw. Speaking of baseball and like the All Star game, I saw a meme that said they should do a home run derby with metal bats,
Oh yeah.
and somebody replied to the tweet, and it was Mason Rudolph passed out on the field, and it said, "A Make-A-Wish 12-year-old, in left field after Pete Alonso like misses a home run."
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
After
like, yeah,
Adolis Garcia hits a
yeah, yeah,
topspin live drive,
right.
125 exit velo
Off the bat,
through
yeah.
through this kid's chest. It's like, oh god.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man.
yeah, exactly. Because we had a victim this year, so I think, or this past year, I think somebody got hit and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
kind of broke
Hitting a
into that.
freaking dome.
Yeah.
Like,
It's terrible. It's like, heads up
you,
out there.
you get these people out there that can't clap their hands trying to catch these absolute
Yeah.
missiles off the bat.
2024, you're gonna see kids out there with Rydell's and visors,
Exactly.
ready to go. So all right. Yeah, so that's our Shatter the Script. That was the Pro Bowl. Who cares? We're gonna get into Super Bowl predictions here, and there's kind of a lot. We're gonna try and put as much depth into this Super Bowl as we can because obviously it's the biggest event in sports television. But we're gonna cover who's gonna hoist the Lombardi Trophy, who's gonna be the MVP. And we're also going to kind of go match for match in terms of roster, head coach, quarterback, all the way down to defensive line and linebackers, and who we would take on each side and maybe see, which one we think would win based on just a head-to-head matchup position-wise or head coach-wise. And then we'll get into, the betting part of the game. And then we're going to get obviously into predictions and this who's going to hoist the trophy and whatnot. So obviously Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl 58. This is hosted in Las Vegas. And there's a lot of comparisons to make here. So we're going to start with the head coach. Who would you take, the 49ers head coach or the Chiefs head coach? So who would you rather take, Kyle Shanahan or Andy Reid?
Man, that one's tough. But
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going. I gotta go with Andy Reid.
Yeah, I had the same answer on that. He's got too much experience inside of a Super Bowl, and just tenure. He's been there a lot longer, and he's done a lot more with a lot less, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it is close. So Kyle Shanahan, what is this? His second or third Super Bowl that he's? I would say second, I think. So
second, yeah, because they made one with Jimmy Garoppolo not too long ago.
Jimmy G.
I think that was in 2020, right? COVID year.
Yeah,
when the world ended.
The Chiefs.
Yeah,
when the world. All right, yeah, this one's kind of easy. But quarterback, Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy?
Yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes Jr.
Yeah, I'm going Brock Purdy. No.
Yeah, there we go.
Junior.
Junior.
Yeah, it ain't senior. No, we ain't going that. Oh man, yeah. We're gonna put our. I'm gonna share my screen here. We actually have a mug shot.
No.
I'm just playing.
Oh, I go no.
I would actually do something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, Isaiah Pacheco or Christian McCaffrey?
I think this is another easy one. Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, we shouldn't doubt Isaiah Pacheco's effort, but I'm going Christian McCaffrey here. Yeah. Okay, wide receiver. On the Chiefs side, you've got Rashee Rice, Valdez-Scantling, Justin Watson, I believe Richie James, and Kadarius Toney. And then on the 49ers side, you've got, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, if you want to count him, Juwan Jennings, and I believe Chris Conley's on the Chiefs. No, he is on the 49ers. Yeah, so anyway, which wide receiver core would you take, the Chiefs or the 49ers?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with 49ers. I think that's the better all-around wide receiver room right there. I mean, obviously, if the Chiefs wide receivers play like they've played the last couple games, like it's a little different.
Yeah.
But like just seeing the history in all years, like any moment, like first 12 games, Chiefs receivers could show up, and then all of a sudden, this is a shit show.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I'm going with the 49ers as well. I just think they're
Nice.
more proven. I think Juwan Jennings is actually pretty underrated.
Yeah,
He's a good third down receiver. But Rashi Rice, I mean, next year I expect big things from him. He's been an incredible asset to Patrick Mahomes all year. Um,
absolutely.
Speaking of tight ends, I was going to say when Travis Kelce might disappear or be thinking about, Taylor Swift, but George Kittle or Travis Kelce?
Man, this is a tough one, dude.
Oh boy.
Oh, dude. I feel like Chris Collinsworth when you said, here we
Oh,
go. Uh,
I look
yeah,
like
I think
Mahomes.
I'm gonna do it. I think George Kittle's gonna have a better game.
One I had, yeah. I think George Kittle has been one of the, if not the best, one of the best tight ends all year because he's been healthy.
Hmm.
And in just terms of playing the position and for what it's defined as, I mean, he's probably the best blocker in the NFL. He is the best blocker in the NFL in terms of the tight end position. He plays his part well. So, and Kelsey's getting up there with age. He's starstruck, but in this game, in this scenario, I think I would take George Kittle.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we'll move over to offensive line. This one's a little trickier, I think, because the Chiefs' offensive line's been playing really well, but the
Yeah.
49ers roster is stacked at
Yeah.
O-line.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with 49ers O line. And it's just because obviously they're great and whatnot, but I think it's due to more like obviously they're great players, but their scheme, like with running the ball and doing stuff, I think gives them the notch if we were just going man to man and whatnot. But that doesn't mean the Chiefs' offensive line is bad at all.
Yeah.
I think if either team if it came down to controlling the ball and running the ball and stuff like that, I think they're both very good. Um, but I think that one's a lot closer than people think. But I have to give the edge to the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah, I am going to do the same as well. I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line, like you said, I mean, they held, I think, Patrick Mahomes to very minimal sacks in the playoffs,
Yeah,
and all year this year as well. And whether that's credit to Mahomes running around the pocket and being able to avoid pressure, or just the fact that they've done a fantastic job. It goes both ways, and the Chiefs' offensive line is by no means not good. They're very good at
yeah,
what they do. But the 49ers with Trent Williams, and I think they take the cake. I mean, that's the best left tackle in the game.
yeah.
So, okay, moving on to the defense. At edge, we've got the 49ers or the Chiefs, with 49ers having Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Randy Gregory, and Armstead, and then the Chiefs having Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, and I'm probably missing one or two. But if me personally, I'm taking the 49ers by far. And it's not to say that the Chiefs aren't, again, it's not by much, but they've got so much big names and talent at edge that Bosa can change the game in an instant. Chase Young, can change the game if his effort's there.
Yeah.
But honestly, this is just my gut instinct, but you could easily argue that Chris Jones and just them playing together as a unit, as a team, the Chiefs can be better than the 49ers at edge. I'm not saying they are, but I'm saying they could play better if they showed up.
Yeah. So this one is where I think the Chiefs don't get enough credit with their defense. And I saw a tweet about and it explained it well that like if you look at the names, you're gonna take 49ers, but if you look at like the actual player stat and everything like that, like the Chiefs actually do a very good job on defense all
Yeah.
the way through. Um, and just like, I mean, really, obviously, Bosa sticks out because he is a game changer. He's all pro player, stuff like that. And then same with Chris Jones. Man, I think the Kansas City Chiefs defense kind of getting slept on a little bit. So I'm gonna go with the edge and defensive line. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I think they do a very good job controlling the line of scrimmage. Obviously, they may not have the big names that get 17 sacks a year. I mean, Chris Jones a couple years ago was that.
Yeah.
and then George Karlaftis and stuff like that. But I think they do a really good job controlling the line of scrimmage, doing well to stop the run. And then I think with those linebackers and Steve Spagnuolo, where they bring a lot of pressure, I think it makes it to where they give a lot of confusing looks wherever they're out on the field. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to go with the edge to the Chiefs defense with the defensive line.
I like that. Spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Into the secondary we go. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I love L'Jarius Sneed. I think he's an incredible cornerback. He plays aggressive. He's a good tackler. He made that great play against Zay Flowers in the previous matchup, at the goal line, and he's been a great man-to-man and zone coverage cornerback all year. Now Tre'Davious Ward is good, almost just as good as a player. I would say he's a B+ corner. But I think Snead takes the cake, and I like the Chiefs secondary. I like how Steve Spagnuolo plays them. They play aggressive. And like you said, they've been the loudest part of this Chiefs team all year. So
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you. I think you kind of summed it up really well. The Chiefs defense, kind of knows who they are, know they kind of play aggressive, and know they kind of have to play aggressive and whatnot, and force those teams into making the perfect throw or force those teams into making a mistake or anything like that. So I have to go with the Chiefs secondary.
nice. Okay. And the last one are the linebacker core. And the Chiefs do have good linebackers. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool names out there. They have depth is one thing. They've got 4 or 5 guys that can play linebacker at a very good professional level. But I cannot doubt the best linebacker in football, Fred Warner, and the second best.
Yeah.
I would say I don't know. I can't back that up, but I would say close to second best in Greenlaw.
Yeah.
I mean, watching those two, when they get in a rhythm, it is nasty. It is scary. It's something that you as a receiver and a running back, you just don't want to see ever. And so just their presence in general and their talent, his coast to coast ability, Fred Warner's, to get sideline to sideline and spear the shit out of you is why I'm taking the 49ers.
Yeah, 100%. You're dead on with that. I think you're extremely right saying possibly 1 and 2 linebacker in the league, if not one, and both linebackers are top 5 or 6, however you want to rank them. I don't think you could look past that, however you look at it. I think they're very good, and like you said, very good at multiple things, whether it be coverage, whether it be sideline to sideline, whether it be pressure, whether it be filling the gap or anything like that. They're very good at all of it, and they don't just have one specialty that's all they rely on. And I think that's what gives them the cake over the Chiefs and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So we mostly lean, 49ers here when you're going head to head matchup here with just comparing rosters and head coaches. But I mean, that doesn't have anything to say. The script may have something to say to that, which we'll get into. But yeah, so the 49ers kind of take the cake in head to head analysis. But we'll get into kind of some sporting bet odds. The 49ers are -1.5 favorites for the spread. I think this is pretty interesting. I like it. I mean, the 49ers are the better roster team. I believe the Chiefs were favorites the first time they played. Of course, that was a different year. But I like it. I mean, it's too small for it's the Super Bowl is such a big game that they can't put a massive spread on this game. Like, I can't imagine a matchup to where it would have been any greater than -1.5. Like if you had, let's just say that what's it called? The Lions were in it and the Ravens. Now the spread in that scenario might be a little bit larger, with how the Lions got shredded by the Ravens earlier in the season. But a team of destiny versus a quarterback that's never been in the Super Bowl, the betting odds, those people, those puppet masters, they might have something else to say about it with the spread. That's the most spread out scenario I can think of in terms of the contenders that were competing for the Super Bowl. But I like this. I think I told some coworkers, I was just like, look, if I'm a betting man, I'm not touching this game. I'm just, and I'll get into it why. But and then of course The over-under is 47.5. So expecting maybe a 23-23 ball game here, maybe. So
yeah, that's pretty solid over-under.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. If you were to take either one of those bets, which one would you prefer? Would you prefer a spread or would you prefer the over-under? And neither of us really gamble.
Over-under. I'd take the over-under by far. 1.5 is like you just got to be for sure, because I mean 1.5, like either way. And I don't know what the money line is or anything like that, but I mean if I was betting, I'm taking the Chiefs all the way.
Yeah.
Because you got the best quarterback in the league. You've got a great defense, and you've got a 49ers team that has actually struggled the last few times, especially on the defensive side. And you've seen their offense not necessarily kick it into gear until later on in the game. And so that's where I feel like, and then you've got all the bullshit coming out about how the 49ers are practicing on turf fields, and, the AC doesn't work and they don't have margaritas waiting out their door, whatever the hell they want to say. But if I was betting, which I don't, because you see how involved I can get into it and get carried away with it.
Yep.
I would have to take Chiefs money line, Chiefs over.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I like the over under here because I agree, because the spread, you got to be sure. And I don't like backdoor covers. I've seen them too many times.
Yeah.
There will be text in the group chat throughout the regular season. We're like, there's a backdoor cover. And you're like, oh, yeah. But, the over under 23-23, these are both technically high powered offenses. You can see a scenario where they're going back and forth. And I would rather do that than say, oh, they're for sure going to win by more than 2 or whatever the case would be.
Yeah.
Now, to who would the cool thing with the over under too, and I could be wrong on this because I've never actually betted on the over under, is I don't think you pick a winner. I think you're just picking the score. Yeah. So I mean it's kind of, I like that a lot better. I don't see a 12-9 game here. So
yeah. Yeah, and with that, I mean, what does everybody like to see? Points, right? So why? Yeah. So it, more points, more viewers. It's easier to just take the over. And like you said, like both these offenses are good enough. Like they should be putting up points. So if they do, and they're playing in like prime conditions, grass field, whatever you want to say, and especially with it being in Vegas, they're trying to make as much money as they can. So like you want to see, you'll probably see some interesting things go on throughout the game.
Yeah.
that help the offensive side of the ball a little more.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's get into predictions. So we've covered the sports betting side of the game. We've covered the head-to-head matchups. We've got the predictions now. So I categorize mine into 2 separate ones where I've got the script and I've got the shattered script. So, and I'll get into mine, but I'll let you pick your score predictions and why you think that, and we'll just continue to tackle it.
All right. So I have Kansas City 28-24. I think, and I have my Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. I'm kind of riding that out. I think one, the experience. 2, he's the best quarterback in the league. We just saw what they did last week and how, he kind of, even though the second half, they didn't do much on offense, it didn't seem like the game was very out of control or out of his hands. And, in the biggest times, you want the ball in his hands. And it seems like in the last 2 games, he could do no wrong, right? And so I think that's just how they're going to control the game. I think that I think the 49ers, they've just been not like very good the last 2 games, and they have pulled out wins. I think everybody can look at the last 2 games and been like, how the hell did the 49ers win that? Like 2 games in a row where that happened, and credits to them and Brock Purdy, he's very good as well. But I just think the Chiefs are going to be better coached. I think the Chiefs are going to be, are going to work better. They're going to execute better, and I think overall that defense is going to give fits to Brock Purdy, and then Patrick Mahomes is just going to do what he does.
Yeah, yeah, I like those points, and we'll come back to them. And then so mine is I got the Chiefs winning 27 to 21, and this is the script version. And I think Travis Kelce proposes to Taylor Swift underneath the confetti. This is something I've been saying for 2 weeks now. It would just make so much freaking money, just everywhere, just viewership, magazines, social media. I mean, you name it. If he did this, he would. I mean, it would just break the internet. I mean, I know Tucker Carlson's, interviewing Vladimir Putin, but it's like, bro, this is like, look at this. But and the script, the Super Bowl MVP for the script, I think would be Travis Kelce. I think he has 8 receptions, 96 yards, and he gets 2 touchdowns, and they gave him the MVP. And this is, I call it the script because it's like your dream scenario. If you're a Swiftie and if you're a master of puppets and you're sitting there going, oh, this is just pure, like, let's put fuel to the fire. And so is it likely? I don't know, but let's go the shattered script version. I've got the 49ers winning 30 to 26. And
Sam Darnold MVP.
Sam Darnold, yeah. CFC Masterclass, 49ers hold first half lead. Brock Purdy takes the Super Bowl MVP, going 24-37, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. But we're going to get the script version. I'm just telling y'all. You can't doubt Mr. Inevitable. The shattered script version is just me saying that the 49ers are a better roster team that on paper, and they've been a juggernaut all year. But yes, you're right. And then we'll come back to the points you made, is that those 2 playoff games that they had before, they were not in control of the game. They were playing from behind, and that is not a comfortable situation for Brock Purdy. However, he did get away with it, playing a quarterback his first time in the playoffs. That's Jordan Love. Wasn't supposed to be him, but, they surprised a lot of people there. And then you move on into the Lions game where they just smoked the 49ers in the first half, and you got the defense making these plays. Dan Campbell going for it on 4th and 3 and giving the 49ers an opportunity to get back into the game and thus win the game. So it ain't going to be that easy when you got Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes does one thing really well. It's called inevitability. And whenever you get the lead with Patrick Mahomes, 9 times out of 9 times, he's going to win the game. He is the best in the game at it. And I know I'm glazing at him right now, I guess.
Yeah, but, you are, bro.
Yeah, but it's just the truth. Sus.
Yeah, super.
But I mean, yeah. I mean, what further comments do you have on it?
No, I mean, that you made like really good points. Is that like, the 49ers, like, they haven't played yes, the Lions were good, but like Dan Campbell said after his interview, and I think after the game where they lost, and I think you mentioned it on the pod last week about now we're the ones with the targets on their back, right?
Yeah.
They weren't expected to be there. Neither were the Packers. And they still had troubles with those teams, but they are very good teams. Don't get me wrong. The Dallas Cowboys got, shit pumped by the Packers and whatnot. Yeah. But like, just for them to look that bad was very concerning for me, because I mean, the Lions, like you said, just like steamrolled them in the first half. And for you to just not put that game away or really not look good for a whole half and then lose like that, I mean, you're not going to have that with an Andy Reid coach team and a Patrick Mahomes led team. So they're going to have to play, I mean, as perfect as they can, or else, there's not going to be any of that, we're going to be able to come back in the fourth quarter. Like, I just don't see that happening. So, but the reason I made the Sam Darnold comment is because I saw something. There was like a 4,500 to 1 odds that Sam Darnold won MVP, and someone was like, put some money on it. And I was like, that'd be nuts if like you know, Brock
Could you
Purdy has
imagine?
like a shitty like quarter and a half, like couple picks or whatever, and they're just like, all right, Darnold, get in there, and he just leads him to the promised land.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Well, I'll get into that in a second, but to mention first, Joe Buck. Gosh, I was going to get to that. Patrick Mahomes, his playoff run was much more impressive because he was beating. He went against two MVP candidates.
Yeah,
Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and in both of those scenarios, he proved that he was the better quarterback with a
yeah,
whole lot less. And yes, Josh Allen could have tied that game to go into OT, but we've seen an OT between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes before. So I'm not saying it was a guaranteed win for Patrick or for Josh Allen if that field goal was made.
yeah,
But Josh Allen did play well enough to win. And then you go into Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was encapsulated by this Chiefs team. I'm not sure if that's a word. I've heard it before, I think.
yeah, yeah.
But
You got it.
and I was just like, that's what we call him, Mr. Inevitable. So it's just a very impressive run there. It looked like Mahomes was meant to be there. And he was built for the when the lights are bright.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
like to get into go ahead.
he did it, and he did it against defenses that are equally, if not better than the 49ers. And like the point you made, like he did it against
Yeah, the
MVP
Ravens.
quarterbacks and I mean just incredible defenses. Like Baltimore Ravens defense was talked about like they were the second coming of Christ of a defense. And I mean he did it against them. And it was honestly pretty handedly too. So I mean it's just gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, man.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'll say is I saw Joe Buck commented on
Uh-huh.
going to the Las Vegas game and said that he wanted no part of it. I'm paraphrasing. He said he wanted basically no part of it because he thought it was Vegas and something weird was going to happen, and he thinks it's not going to be good. And I'm like, what does this dude Joe Buck know? Like, what is going on here? And so I was thinking, the Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
Yeah,
The
bro.
all-seeing
Like
eye.
I was gonna say, yeah, yeah, the camera. And so I was thinking, and we're gonna say Project Bluebeam occurs at Las Vegas Stadium, and aliens will invade Las Vegas Stadium at halftime during Usher's performance as he's singing "Hey Daddy" with his shirt off, sweating
Yes.
with a 8-pack of abs,
Ah,
and you're gonna see little beings and hovered aircraft and when they open for fireworks, and they're going to go, wait, what is that? What are all these lights? This time they're turning on a lot more lights than last time. And we're going to see holographic beings from above. And Joe Buck's going to say, that is a disgusting
oh my
act.
God.
That is disgusting. It's going to be Randy Moss mooning the crowd in holograms. No, but he did say that. I'm not joking about those comments
Oh
about what he
God.
said. He said something weird he thought something weird was going to happen at the Super Bowl, which I thought was really weird. Like CIA intelligence
Yeah.
espionage type shit. So.
You're a jackass, man. You took that and ran with it. I was like, where is this going?
Oh my God. I can get on ramble now. Anyway, so okay, so we have the Chiefs basically winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And yeah, the Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce winning Super Bowl MVP. And we talked about the headlines last week. Yes, the confetti will come down. Taylor Swift will be in the podium with Travis Kelce. It'll make headlines. That's what we think the script is. So, but yeah, let's get into our that covers the Super Bowl. So you guys enjoy your weekends, drink responsibly. Be safe out there. Don't do anything stupid. Hang out with your boys, drink some garage beers, play some pool.
Garage beers. Yes.
Yeah. So if you're in Vegas, I doubt you are because most of our clientele is in Houston. But just be careful out there, gentlemen. Have a good time. That being said, I'm going to be the craziest one ever. So,
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into our track ranking. We want to cover our top 3 Super Bowl moments. This is from anything from commercials to plays to games to anything. So I'll let you go first. I've been rambling a bit.
So. It's okay. Yeah. So actually, my first one, obviously, honorable mention. However, this is an honorable mention DB list or nominee for a Super Bowl, and it is the 2019 Maroon 5 halftime show. I think we all either remember it or try to delete it from our memory as quick as we can. You know, you had Adam Levine up there, you know, just a very odd like halftime, just Super Bowl, just playing like payphone at halftime, and you're just like, everybody's just like, what?
I'm out of pain.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like we couldn't find anybody else, and we got this dude up here. And I
Yeah, we
think it
got
was
this
in the
crack.
midst of like, so like I was reading, it was in the midst like that's when everybody was like boycotting doing the halftime show due to the Colin Kaepernick controversy. And so I think they asked like all these people, and they were like, "No, we stand with Colin Kaepernick," kind of stuff. And then, you know, Adam Levine was like, "Oh, I'll do it." And like I think he brought Travis Scott out there too, and it was just like, "What
Turn
are we
up.
doing?"
Yeah,
Yeah, we were like, "What are we doing?"
yeah,
And it was bad. So that's when I remember just watching the halftime and just being like, yeah, let's flip it to something else. Let's go to the Puppy Bowl or whatever it is that they
yeah.
play during
The
it.
puppy Super Bowl. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you were watching that Super Bowl halftime performance on LSD, you'd be on a different planet. But you know, mine is speaking of puppies. Mine honorable mention was the Budweiser commercial with the dog and the horse.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was, I mean, that'll make a grown man cry.
Oh,
So that's a
absolutely.
fantastic commercial. I've always been a fan of the commercials from 2010 to 2020. I thought they were amazing, and then ever since COVID, I feel like the commercials have gotten less good. I just haven't really
Yes.
enjoyed them as much.
Agreed.
That could be nostalgia. I don't know.
No, no,
But
no, no, no. You're right.
yeah.
They've definitely been less good. Uh,
No. You're right.
someone call them ass.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Your gold ranking.
so my gold and so you probably don't remember this one. This just shows how old I am. But in 2000, they had
Yeah, I
a,
remember the
I
time
believe
still.
it. Yeah, yeah, you were like what, two? Um, and so, and I think it was 2000. I think it was a Mountain Dew commercial, and it was the infamous commercial where it had all your buddies on the phone and they were screaming "what" to
Oh,
everybody, and so that was the commercial during the Super Bowl. That's when it first aired. I remember watching that, and then growing like being a 7 to 12-year-old at that time, like that's all you did. Like, you know, bless our parents' hearts growing up then,
yeah.
because that went on for like 5 or 6 years of just everybody just yelling "what's up" or calling your buddy on the landline and just be like, and you're just like, I just know our parents were like, yeah, our kids might be on the spectrum. Like,
Yeah.
like, they might be,
Took the joke
yeah,
right out of my mouth, man.
yeah, they're like calling the doctor. They're like, yeah, doctor so and so, we need to have an appointment tomorrow. Something's wrong
Yeah,
with this kid.
yeah, we got to bring this guy in. He may have something extra in him. So
Yeah, or something less. I don't
that's
know.
something less. Yeah.
No, I remember that one, and
Uh,
like everybody knows, like when you say like everybody's like that
yeah,
too. So
yeah. Don't worry, we had YOLO. I think that was a little bit worse. Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know if you remember that. Well,
Yeah, you
YOLO
know, I
came out.
remember that. Yeah, but still,
Yeah, YOLO, bro. You only live once.
yeah,
Screw off.
yeah, that
Uh,
shit sucks.
yeah. Then there was yeah, that shit sucked. Then there was a 2-year period of Sadid. That was everywhere. Everyone
Oh,
said
that
Sadid.
was still good. That
Yeah,
was still good.
that's fine days.
Sorry,
Sadid.
sorry. It's
Sadid.
Wednesday. It's Wednesday, my dude.
Okay. My gold. I'm sorry it's not a commercial, but I'm going the Santonio Holmes end zone catch. And this is in 2009. The Steelers win this game, 27-23. It was a 6-yard touchdown catch with 35 seconds left. The reason I'm putting this was in 2009, like I mentioned. I was 9 years old when this happened. The reason I'm putting it in here is because it's the first Super Bowl that I remember. And I remember watching the entire game and going, oh my God, I love football. Like, this is amazing. This is the Super Bowl. And I had the Madden game. I used to get my teeth kicked in by my brother in Madden 09, Madden 08, whatever that one was. I know it's like a year ahead, but I remember the cover was I think it was Larry Fitzgerald and Hines Ward, and I used to have it on the PSP. And I'd play it on road trips. I'd be playing Madden on the PSP, and I was just like, oh, I'm trying to mimic this Santonio Holmes catch. So it was an iconic one. It's something that got me into watching the Super Bowl and death at a young age. So Santonio Holmes, that was just a fantastic catch. It's one that it's always like rent free in my head. It's like, damn, that catch was nice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was a good one.
Okay, your platinum.
Yeah, so my platinum, and I mean, my list is more like just most memorable, like stuff that just sticks out.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to come off as weird, but like the 2004 Super Bowl when like the Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson mishap. Do you remember that one? You probably don't.
It was a while ago. It was, what was that, 2000, like early 2010s or?
It was 2004. Yeah. And so, yeah, so you'd have been 4 years old, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember that. But basically what they were doing, halftime show, they were dancing, and they were supposed to do something where they like ripped an article of clothing off, but it was supposed to be like an article of clothing to reveal another article of clothing, like something like that. And they ripped it off and it all came off and her boob just popped out. Yeah. I remember everybody going to school like the next day, like, hey bro, did you see that? Did you see that? We're all like 10 years old. Like, yeah, like, the people were like, God, I feel so old saying this, but like people back then that had like TVs that could like stop it. Like you could DVR back then, like you could do that with whatever now. But back then you only had like certain things, and you're like, your buddies be like, yeah, dude, I stole the remote, and like stopped it on there, and like looked, and it's like, oh my God. So I just remember that because it was talked about forever, like it was like a war crime, and it was just like an accident. And people acted like it was on there for forever, but it was like boom, and then she like hid. But it was just one that just was talked about so much that I can remember from the Super Bowl and whatnot. But it was also an interesting pairing. It was like Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, and that was when J. Tim was young, dude. So
you was a young one.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, I can't believe they must have put that shit in the Vatican archives. I've never heard of that.
I'll send it to you. Wait, what?
Yeah, I get the link and it says Pornhub. You're like,
yeah.
Chunk that phone across the room. But all right, yeah, mine was my platinum is the Eminem, the brisk Eminem Super Bowl commercial. And so here we go. Let's see if it plays. Let me know if you hear the audio on this, like immediately. Okay. You hear it?
Yeah. He has to do commercials all the time. And I always say the same thing. First, I need some hot chicks. Second, we film at my house, so I ain't got to go anywhere. Third, I record my own song. Yo! Bring it! Cool, refreshing, nice tea, drinking! Oh, wardrobe malfunction. But once I try their product, I always hate them. So I bounce.
The wardrobe malfunction, that's the joke right there.
You can't change your name to Eminem's Yo, bring it, mother, you.
Nice! See? That's why I don't do commercials.
Dude, that commercial used to crack me up so much. I was watching it, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the reference right there. Janet Jackson, perfect platinum. Yeah. You're welcome. Without even knowing it. But dude, me and my brothers used to make fun of that last part. It was like, no, you can't change your name to Eminem. Shut up, mother.
Yeah.
Pushes him off the cliff. That's why I don't do commercials. And flips the hood at the end. That's a fantastic one. There are more
hot chicks.
Yeah. Want to try the products? Always hate them. So but there's more brisk commercials. I think there's a Ozzy Osbourne one that was really good. grow a front butt, whatever that he's saying, or whatever. Go on another cruise. You can't say darn shoot or fudge, all that kind of stuff. And then there was a Darth Maul and Yoda Brisk commercial. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah.
But the Brisk commercials are pretty legit, but Eminem takes the cake.
Absolutely. That's a good one. Yeah. All right. Well, my diamond one, I actually did a game this time. It's kind of boring, and I think the last pod I was on is one of my most favorite playoff games, but it was the 28-3 comeback from the Patriots in that Super Bowl. I still when you just think, still to this day, when you think about it, it's like when your team goes down, like in the Cowboys and Packers game, that game makes me think there's still a chance. There's still a chance. And even though there's not, but remembering that game and being down 28-3 and being able to come back and win that, you just always leaves a little doubt in your head. And to do that in a Super Bowl is nuts.
Yeah. Because
I think I saw a picture the other day, going into the fourth quarter, it was 28-12. So it wasn't it was 28-21 going into the fourth quarter. It was still a big comeback that had to happen.
Yeah.
So that's my diamond ranking.
I was very close to putting that one as my diamond ranking. I had it typed out and everything, and I was and then I switched it to the 2015 Russell Wilson interception at the goal line versus the Patriots. So another Tom Brady game.
Mm-hmm.
Because this one, it echoes in eternity even today.
Yeah.
They're still making comments on it, on Thursday Night Football, on CBS, wherever you have it, saying run the damn ball, run the ball. You're on the one. You have the best running back in the game, the most physical running back in the game. Run the ball. And, still cracking jokes about it to this day. And I remember watching that. And at this time, I will admit, I was a Tom Brady hater. I was an Aaron Rodgers guy. I was saying that he was a system quarterback and blah, 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 and then his defense. And then I saw this game, and I about lost my shit. I was just I cannot believe that we just gave this dude a Super Bowl on that kind of play. And then Malcolm Butler was the savior of the city for 3 years, but he wasn't that good of a player, shortly after, I would say. I mean, I don't want to quote on that. I think he was still a pretty solid player. But, so, I mean, it was an incredible play by Malcolm Butler. It's such a stupid call. It was almost that's a cowboy move right there. It's kind of what it felt like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's my diamond ranking.
Nice.
So, yeah. Any vibraniums?
Yeah, I was thinking the vibranium one was going to be the Budweiser one you picked. Yeah.
I mean, because
that one's
either way.
That one's a good one. And I can't remember if the Coors Light one, the when they first introduced the bullet train, the silver bullet logo or whatever. I couldn't remember if that was Super Bowl or not. But I remember that one being wild. And then the Real Man of Genius ones. I don't know if you remember those, but those are hilarious. Do you remember those?
I don't think so. I remember the Doritos commercials the most.
Oh, I almost put that one on there.
Yeah, the Doritos were really good. One of my favorites is he's at date night, and he's he's got the power of the flames or whatever, and he's like, do you have a cat? And she's like, yeah. And he starts sneezing everywhere, and I think the house catches on fire or whatever.
I have to share the Real Man of Genius one. I can't. When I play this, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I've seen this.
Or the Doritos time machine, and then the Doritos one where the baby wants a Dorito when they're trying to deliver the baby, and he yanks the Dorito.
Oh yeah, that one's one.
Baby comes out.
Don't mess with my mama. Don't mess with my brother.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. I see it.
You see it?
Yeah. Here we go. Just go full screen.
Full screen. So don't look at all my other stuff.
Yeah.
Jason Whitlock.
Big horse
presents Real Men of Genius.
Real Men of Genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
Mr. Really Bad Toupee Wearer.
More than any neon sign or exploding scoreboard ever could, your chrome dome cover says, hey guys,
Look at me.
What could you be thinking?
You think it looks natural, but it couldn't look phonier if it had a chin strap.
Look at you.
Made of space-age fibers, it can repel anything. Rain, wind, snow, and especially
Good Lord.
young women.
I don't think so.
So crack open an ice cold Budweiser, Mr. Stud in a rug. Then crack open another for that thing on your head.
I don't think it's all straight.
You look ridiculous.
Yeah. The thing is, there's like 6 minutes of like those commercials on that video.
I
And
do
they're
remember
all
some.
like that. They're so funny.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's go through our updates around the NFL. We got some important coaching updates for you guys. So we figured out, we covered in the last podcast that Dan Quinn was going to be joining the Washington Commanders as the head coach. And we also kind of talked about that Cliff Kingsbury was going to be the Raiders offensive coordinator, but it turns out there's a lot of moving parts here. We figured out that Cliff Kingsbury backed out of the Raiders offensive coordinator job and will join the Commanders as OC. Well, when this happened, it was before they announced anything to do with Eric Bieniemy, who was the current Commanders OC, and he was listed on their website still as part of the staff. And then less than 24 hours later, after news was kind of breaking on Twitter and there was a little bit of chatter about it, Dan Quinn confirmed that Eric Bieniemy will not be returning to the Commanders coaching staff. And Shatter reported on it as well. This is weird to me. I mean, they just hired Eric Bieniemy, and I thought it was really a succession ordeal where he was going to eventually become the head coach because they talked so much game about Eric Bieniemy when he was supposed to get a job. And they made it this big race issue and blah, 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 which we won't get into that, obviously. But just, it was like this big ordeal. He has to have this job. He's qualified to have this job. And then they replaced him with Cliff Kingsbury, and no one's talking about it. And no one has said a word about it. It's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Eric Bieniemy is going to go somewhere else. And it's just like it's kind of like the mainstream media's perfect storm is the way that these things happen. They just sweep it under the rug. But I thought it was kind of wrong of the Commanders to do. But I get it. Dan Quinn's going to bring over his guys. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, Bieniemy, I mean, his quarterback had one of the most passing yards in the NFL this year. They saw some good things in terms of the passing game. And I think Bieniemy will work somewhere else. I'm not sure where, but I think he's going to do fine somewhere else. But this is kind of weird. But Dan Quinn's he's got his guys. I believe, did Joe Witt go with Dan Quinn to Washington? So he was the Cowboys defensive something.
It's like pass game coordinator.
Yes. Yeah. He's not the DB coach. That's Al Harris. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a passing game coordinator.
Yeah,
So-
I agree with you. I thought it was just strange how within I feel like it was only within 24 hours. It was like Kingsbury to the Raiders, then he's not. Then he's with the Commanders. Commanders have an OC, and it's weird. And then I know I don't. Are we doing a DB list this pod or no?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Then I'm gonna say. But yeah, it was just strange. But my, I guess, opinion on Eric Bieniemy is he was with Andy Reid for so long, and everybody talked about him, how the offense was Bieniemy, not Reid, not Bieniemy. And then, they played that last year or whatever, and Bieniemy left, and they were like, oh, okay, cool, he's getting out of the Andy Reid shadow, whatever. And that this was literally just a lateral move to then Ron Rivera wasn't going to stay there very long anyway. And then he'd be the HC. And so to me, it kind of shows something when you go, 7 years now of doing head coaching interviews and never getting one. And then you go to a place where you're basically hey, you're going to have the head coaching job after this guy's done, because it was a change in ownership, a change in head coach. And it's you got an offensive minded guy. That's how they like to go nowadays with hiring head coaches. And then it's still doesn't get hired. Maybe it says something about the person. And then a new coach gets hired, and the OC that's there was the OC for Patrick Mahomes when he was very good and still is very good. And he's turned Sam Howell into someone who's, has a good thing, has bad things, like you said as well. And that new head coach is still like, nah, we'll see you. I feel like that's got to be like, yeah, you can bring up race, you can bring up whatever you want, but like sooner or later, that's got to say something about the person, right? Like, is he not a good interviewer? Is he actually not that great of his job? Is he a dickhead? Like, you never know. And so that, to lead us into our next topic, I guess that's who was going to be. There were 2 DB list candidates, and this was number 1 was Eric Bieniemy, literally talking about for the last few years of him being a head coach, deserves it, makes a lateral move, gets to a lateral move, does okay, and then you get in that situation and you get a new head coach and it's like, hell yeah, we're roaring, we're ready to go. And then the head coach hires a dude for your position while you're still under that position name, like still on the website.
It was almost like, oh shit, my bad. Sorry, you're gone. Bye.
Yeah, it's like, oh damn, we forgot to fire that guy. Yeah, tell him he's fired. Like,
Hey, give him the call.
So that was rough, and just like you said, it's just like kind of odd, awkward situation. Like for a $1 billion company, a multi-billion-dollar company, and you got all these moving parts. Like, might want to handle a little better. Might need to go a little smoother than just like, oh shit, we probably need to fire. We can't have 2 OCs. Like, I guess.
Yeah.
And then don't want to talk bad on the person it represents, but the second DB candidate, I think we all know where this is going, is Patrick Mahomes Sr. Like,
I was waiting for it.
Like, brother, like you got no excuse right now. Like, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has basically been like, Patrick Mahomes Jr. has basically been like, he went through the whole ordeal in the first part of his career where, some of his family members got a little too involved, made too many headlines, and he finally gave him some shut the hell up money and like be quiet, because that's what happened. You could say it however you want, but he basically said like, hey, y'all need to be quiet and make my name not another headline besides me being good at football. I don't need to be getting on Twitter or social media and see, my significant other pouring drinks on somebody or yelling all over the place, or sexual assault allegations. Like, go home and act right.
It puts stress on like me, Patrick Mahomes, as well. It's just like it's another weight to carry.
Because literally, he's essentially my age. He's about to play one of the biggest games of his life, and media people are asking, hey, can you give us any updates on your dad who just got arrested for his third DUI? Don't know if you know this, but on your third one, that turns into a felony, and you could get 2 to 15 years in prison.
Yep.
And so to me, that just that gets you on an ultimate DB list. You never want to be on the DB list, but to put to have all these things kind of there for you and do all these things, and then to put your kid in a bad situation like that, as well as your other family. And hopefully more news comes out that, maybe there was miscommunication, maybe there's something else. I'm hoping for that. But how it's looking right now is the thing is, you had 2 before. And so like, for me, it's like, you don't have a Uber, you don't have a driver somewhere. Like, and to me, that gets you on the DB list. 1, for obviously what he did. 2, for just putting your son in just such a brutal situation, because he's got to sit there and try to answer those questions. And I think he did. It's just like, all he can say is like, yeah, it's a family matter. We're going to keep it in the family, which is the right answer. But I mean, you can imagine what he probably wants to say. So those are my 2 DB lists: is Eric Bieniemy having a job, or I guess having the title of a job, while the new head coach hires someone for your job while you currently still hold the position, apparently. And then Patrick Mahomes Sr. getting his 3rd DUI.
Yeah. And the one comment I'll make on, the DB list of Eric Bieniemy is, if you remember this, when we first started the podcast last year, it was around this time, is we talked about when he was hired and made that lateral move, and we kind of broke the script on it and said we kind of attacked all pillars of the like me and the kid, and I said that his performance, as a head coach and his offensive coordinator resume, and that he wasn't actually calling the plays in Kansas City, that those things they don't ignore those things. And because I know he's an offensive coordinator at Colorado, and things got worse when he was there before his previous guy. And that could be recruiting, that could be whatever. And then he got to Kansas City, and he's doing, he's offensive coordinator, but he's not calling the plays like Schottenheimer. Nobody gave Schottenheimer any credit for what Dallas did this year. He had the same exact role as Bieniemy, essentially. So it kind of came full circle here, and you might be onto something there. And it's not something you want to hear for a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who might have a promising career going forward. But, it could tell you something, that there's an underlying issue here that's beyond the game of football or in the game of football. So we don't know that for sure, but we can only speculate that, after 7-8 years, you're only making lateral moves. If we see something below that, come up with this new job that he's going to get, we could have some major concerns for, I guess, his progression and his road to glory to be a head coach. So, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's finish off with our tracking the boys segment. And this is going to be short and simple, short and quick. Obviously we know the Super Bowl is coming up. And so we got some things we're going to talk about for the Dallas Cowboys, and that has pertained with free agency and how we're going to attack it. But I kind of saw this nice little post here that talked about some notable Cowboys free agents and whether or not we should sign them or let them walk. And I'll share my screen here and show those types of cats. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, so these are your notable free agents for the Dallas Cowboys. You got Tyron Smith, Tony Pollard, Tyler Biadasz, Stephon Gilmore, Jaron Kearse, Doran Armstrong, and Jordan Lewis. Let me simplify this list, in my opinion, very quickly for you guys. Jordan Lewis, Jaron Kearse, and Dorrance Armstrong, see ya. Dorrance Armstrong is debatable, but I'm saying bye-bye to Jaron Kearse. I'm saying bye-bye to Jordan Lewis. Thank you for your service. Dorrance Armstrong, I don't know if we can afford him. He's had, I think, back-to-back 7.5 sack seasons. But the guys in the top four, and Pollard, see it probably. Sorry, but I don't want to pay for running back. They're like, Derrick Henry needs to go to Dallas. Okay, we'll cover that in the offseason. It's like, whatever. But on this list here, who would you keep? Who would you let walk?
So your for sures, I think, have to be Tyron Smith and to bring back. Sorry. Your for sures, I have to be Tyron Smith, and I think Dorrance Armstrong, just because I think he's going to be cheaper. He produces at a C+, B+ level D end. I think you can get him on a decent deal, and he's a good player. Your maybes for me is Stephon Gilmore, and a super maybe is Biadasz.
Yeah.
Jordan Lewis, appreciate your time. Tony Pollard, if you come back on $2 million a year, we'll take you. And then Jaron Kearse, thank you for your service, big dog. Go join Dan Quinn.
Go follow Dan Quinn. I mean,
and nothing against Kearse. It's just like his, and it might have been scheme like we've talked about. It might have been play calling, but my God, his play this year. I think I sent a stat a while ago in the group and whatnot about like the biggest drop in DVOA or whatever. Not DVOA, but I can't remember what it was, but basically positive play percentage between last
EPA?
year and this year. Yeah, there we go. EPA between last year and this year drop off, and he was like number one.
Oh.
And I'm like,
brutal.
Yeah, you just can't have that. And so those are kind of, so for sure Tyron Smith, for sure Dorrance Armstrong, and maybe on Gilmore and Biadasz, however you say it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dorrance Armstrong, you can go. My thought was behind it was that you have Sam Williams there,
Yeah.
which I get it. He's a penalty machine on special teams. And now that I think about it, that's a Dan Quinn project. Sam
Yeah.
Williams was somebody that Dan Quinn really, really wanted. So maybe he gets bounced at draft day. Maybe we say, hey, you want a 6th and a 7th round pick for Sam Williams. He's your project, not ours. You can take him. We want to get some more draft picks or whatever. That's a possibility. I'm not saying it should happen. I had high hopes for a guy like him. I still think we drafted him too early. But yeah, Pollard, man. I mean, you know me. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know me. I'm on the train to where I don't want to have to pay $10+ million for a running back.
Yeah, that's
and
nuts.
especially for someone that was doing, quite frankly, something that Ezekiel Elliott could have done in terms of performance. I mean, yards per carry were very similar to what Zeke was doing this year. We needed a physicality back when we got close to the goal line. I'm not in a, it could be scheme too with run design. That could be a primary issue as well. And I'm not saying Pollard is a bad player at all. He was bouncing back from an injury that happened late in 2022, which carried on to the season to where he said he was still struggling with it. So, like you said, if Tony Pollard came back on a really cheap deal and we could afford him, I wouldn't mind it, but I'd be complimenting him with a back that they could, take up most of the workload. So, if not even with him. Tyron Smith, for sure, he is a clamp god. I mean, he is somebody that for sure needs to come back. And I'm a big fan of Tyler Biadasz, but if we can somehow get our hands on that Oregon center,
God, yeah. Sorry.
If we could somehow do that, bye, Tyler. Deuces, thank you. But I do like the Wisconsin boys. I do like those flyover state centers. They do a great job. And what remind me what you talked about on Gilmore? Did you say for sure or maybe?
I say a maybe.
Yeah.
And the reason I say a maybe is depending on what we're going to do on draft day.
True.
And I've said this before about, like people coming back from injuries, like everybody's like, yeah, we got Diggs, we got Bland, we got all these people. Diggs will be coming back, hopefully, by preseason.
Yeah.
Right. And who knows if he's going to be the same player. DaRon Bland, yes, he got to play. He did very good this year. We're not taking anything away from him. His best place on the field is when he's playing slot.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, Stephon Gilmore's older. Obviously, he was very good this year. I wouldn't mind bringing him back on a cheaper deal, but there's just so much uncertainty with yes, the DB room had some good things go on, but there's still a lot of uncertainty with how Diggs is going to come back. Can Bland keep this up for another year? Is he still going to be able to carry the the load with being a 1 or a 2 and not play primarily the slot? And then we don't have many people after that. Nobody really got looked at after that. Yeah. And so that's just where, like, Stephon Gilmore, what you're getting. If he's healthy, you're going to get a B to B+, maybe an A type player, even in his later stage of his career. Like we saw it in the Seattle game. Like when he wants to step up and has to travel with somebody, yeah, he may not be what he used to be, but he's still going to get the job done 85, 90% of the time. And so I would go with like a closer to maybe to a yes with him, just because it gives us a little bit of a safety net on the defensive back position.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing too is, and I mentioned it with Sam Williams, but with Dan Quinn leaving, a lot of those guys that we signed at cornerback and drafted at cornerback were those long-armed prototype cornerbacks that Dan Quinn likes. So that's one thing to consider going to 2024 is that we kind of have to revamp whoever it is. I mean, if it's Al Harris, I can see Stephon Gilmore coming back. I think they rally around Al Harris a lot, and I'm not, I don't know if I want Al Harris to be the defensive coordinator, but I know that our guys like him and he's done some great things at the cornerback position under Dan Quinn. I think he can certainly do a decent job at defensive coordinating. But the rest of those guys like Nashawn Wright, the guy with the complicated name is Israel Mukwama, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like those types of guys, those are long-armed Richard Sherman prototype corners that Dan Quinn wanted. So
Yeah.
we got to think about if we want to continue going with this direction of scheme or if we want to go a new way, which, like you said, goes back to the draft. You know, do we go after somebody in the draft? Do we go after somebody in the trade market, free agency? So, you know, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good breakdown of who to keep on these notable Cowboys free agents.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, Super Bowl 58 is this Sunday. So, like I said, be responsible. You know, enjoy your time with your friends, family, whoever you're going to be hanging out with, your dog, your whiskey glass, whatever it may be. Hopefully, it's going to be a good, entertaining matchup. But you know, like we said, we got the Chiefs winning this one, and hopefully, it doesn't happen. Hopefully, the 49ers. Actually, I don't know, but who cares? But yeah, so this is track 34. This is Super Bowl LVIII. You can see on the bottom, you can subscribe to the podcast. You can visit trak.pod on Instagram to view our link tree, and we'll be on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can watch us on video on Spotify and YouTube. Super easy to download. You can like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we will be back next Wednesday for the last episode of season 1 before we implement season 2 in March. So,
and a possible return of the kid?
And a possible return, permanent return of the kid.
Let's go.
Huh?
Oh.
All right. Well, y'all enjoy the Super Bowl. Go Dallas Cowboys. Go Stars.
Go Stars, baby.
We'll see y'all next Wednesday.